Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining
Hi.
us. Good crowd. I'm Savannah. We appreciate you making time to come by. Michael, thanks so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Good to see you.
Great to see you. Great to get to chat with you again. As y'all probably know if you're here, Michael is the Chief Product Officer for Bumble. And a lot of this conversation is going to be centered around AI, how the technology is changing the way that people connect, and certainly everything that you're doing with AI on the platform. But first, I want to start with you and your time at Bumble, because you've been there for a whopping 2 months and 6 days or so. Is that right?
7 days, actually. Yeah.
7 days, excuse me. How's it going so far?
You know, it's fantastic. I'm really glad that I joined Bumble a couple of months ago. And, you know, on the personal side, as we've talked about, I met my wife on a dating app about 10 years ago. So I fundamentally believe in the power of technology to help people find connection, find meaning, and find love in a lot of cases. So it's been great. The team is really excited. The innovation is bursting at the seams, if you will, and I'm really excited about what's ahead.
Now, if it was 10 years ago, I assume it wasn't on Bumble, but since you're at Bumble, I have to ask who made the first move.
You know, I think that's a debate that we're still having. I say that I did, but, you know, we'll figure this out at some point. Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, your background is tech heavy, which I think speaks to the significant technology going on behind the scenes at Bumble that is powering all the matches that are being made. But you were at Salesforce, you spent a decade at Microsoft, you've been a data miner. Why Bumble?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I've worked across consumer and enterprise applications for my whole career, and the sort of common track has been helping people connect with other people, whether it be employees or colleagues or their customers. And I've always been really passionate about using technology to help them do that. You know, literally, whether it be sharing files all the way through collaborating and now finding connection through matchmaking, love, and romance. So for me, it's like a bit of a natural progression to now be at a place where I get to take all of the work that I've done and all of the passion I have for connection and collaboration and bring it to something where the output is actually people being really happy in their life.
If you think back to all these kind of big tech places you've been, could you have imagined yourself ending up at a dating app?
That's a really good question. You know, it does feel a little bit like I've come full circle. You know, I never would have planned coming here, and at the same time, as it often is with life, you know, a chance set of encounters led to a great conversation with Whitney and I, and the next thing I know, I said, this is where I need to be. I need to come here. I want to participate in the wonderful magic which is this company, and more importantly, the technology is super cool, and I think we have a lot more we can do together.
To mention something that you brought up when we've spoken prior to this conversation and to kind of address head on, you told me something interesting, which is that there's kind of this conception maybe that people are tired of dating apps or it's too difficult to connect on them, but actually that the numbers tell a different story. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, more and more people are going online to find love, whether it be friendship, whether it be romantic love, or anything in between. But what's changed is the way they want to do that, right? How they want to go about it. The role of self-love and self-confidence in that journey has, I think, changed a lot just because of the way that society has evolved since COVID and since a whole bunch of things have changed over the last couple of years.
And so what do the numbers tell you about people's interest in being on these apps?
Yeah, the numbers show that people want to get help finding love or friendship. They want to use applications like Bumble to really help find the people that maybe they wouldn't discover on their own. But an important first step, and something that I think has really changed over the last 10 years, is the role of knowing yourself, of self-confidence, of feeling really good about the interests and the hobbies that you're putting out there, that they're really a great reflection of you, that they understand you and you understand why, so that you can be more authentic when you make those connections.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because I was also struck when we spoke prior that self-love seems to be a focus of Bumble's. How, why, and why does a dating app kind of intersect with that?
Yeah, self-love is a broad term, right? But when you actually think about the sort of practicality of it, it's about really feeling good about yourself, about the way you are represented on an app, about the way that you show up to other people. Like, are you your authentic self? Because that is something that has changed a lot, is when we talk to our members and we hear from them, they say, I want even more specificity in the interest that I can put on my profile, because that helps me show people that not only am I interested in dogs, to cite one example, but I'm really interested in Cocker Spaniels, and that's the one that I have. And it's that kind of specificity, which may seem, well, is that really that important? But when you add up all of those specific points, we can, in turn, learn a lot more about you to give you even more authentic and compatible matches, which is really where that virtuous loop comes from.
So let's talk about the AI of it. I was struck that you said to me, it's pretty much in everything you do. Tell us about that.
We are really excited about our use of AI across the platform, and we use it in so many different and interesting ways. I think that perhaps the most powerful are how we use it for our trust and safety work. We think about using AI across the experience to make sure our members have safe, healthy, and authentic connections, and that include things like our deception detector, which is technology we built that helps to block spammers and scammers. And when we rolled it out, we were able to automatically block over 95% of people who are looking to do that on our platform. So on one side, you have AI protecting and providing a really safe and authentic community for our members. And on the other side, we have AI that helps our members do things like pick the right photos that they may want to show, or to get assistance with some of the things they may want to write. So it's a full spectrum use of AI, which really enables us to help transform the member experience.
So let's start just with how you use it to match people. What does that technology look like on the back end? How's it working?
Sure. Some of that's our secret sauce. So what I will say is that a lot of the work that we do with AI is about understanding you as a person, right? The interests, the profile data that you put together in your for yourself, and then actually understanding how we can find compatible matches for you, right? Literally finding other people who have similar interests, who have similar beliefs and behaviors. So the more specific we can understand you, then the better we can match you. And that's really where a lot of the science comes from.
So for people who are like, does that mean that a robot is picking who I'm seeing? What do you say to that?
I think that's a common thing that we talk to our members about, and even the community. AI is there to assist, right? AI never makes decisions on your behalf. We never communicate on your behalf, using any of Bumble's AI. We simply do things like present you a set of people that we think may be compatible, and it's up to you to say yes or no, or maybe. It's up to you to reach out. If you need help with something to say, we can be there to support you, but we never make those things happen for you. It's always on your terms, which is really where the balance of AI and the person come in.
So for somebody who's concerned about that balance, how do you balance kind of human intuition with who might be right for you with AI matchmaking?
Yeah, I mean, part of that is the way that the system works, right? We get feedback every time you tell us whether or not you like someone or want to follow up with them, or whether you start communicating with them. So we use all of that to understand, are we doing well by you? Are you finding good matches, good authentic matches? We also have great ways for our members to report things that they see on the platform. So there's always an element of a person in the loop. AI is always there to just assist and provide recommendations.
And in the ways that it can help people make their profile better, what response do you see to that?
We see a really strong response, and I think that's because our members are always looking for ways to be more authentic, to represent themselves even better. And I'm sure, just like you and I, there are times when maybe you're stuck, like, what do I say about myself? What's my actual interest that I want to express? So tools like that can really help you express yourself more authentically, and we see that to be broadly applicable to a lot of our members.
And give us more examples about how AI can intersect and kind of interrupt what you may be doing, which you might be stumbling on, or you might feel stuck. How can it help? What does it do?
Yeah, some of those things we're actually going to be releasing over the next few months. I'll be excited to share more of those as they come out. But think broadly about the fact that there are lots of times when you're interacting with other people where maybe you want a little assistance. Maybe you want to think more about what you're going to say. So there's lots of opportunities where AI can help, but again, in that very supportive, passive way that lets you always take control of the experience.
How much has this changed Bumble? Before this technology, I know you've only been there a few months, but obviously with your background, I'm sure that you've kind of done a deep dive on how it's worked at the company. How much has artificial intelligence being involved changed the user experience?
I'd say pretty demonstrably over the last decade, certainly before I've been here, because we're constantly listening to our members and trying to understand where next can we go with AI, where next can we go with the experience to make their membership experience better, to make matchmaking better, to make the way you express yourself in your profile. So just like every other part of our experience, we're constantly listening to our members and evolving the way that the AI works, evolving the way the experience works to match what they need.
For someone who thinks, maybe I don't want AI involved, what would you say to that skeptic?
I think that's where you can feel comfortable, to be honest, with the way that we use AI. And this extends all the way from the principles that we make public about how we use AI, all the way through the implementation and the technology we're talking about today. It's always there to support, to assist, and you are always in control. And that's feedback that we've heard from our members that really works, because they understand that they're in the driver's seat for how everything happens on Bumble.
And when you say they're in the driver's seat, tell us more what you mean by that. How is that for sure the case with AI being involved?
Yeah, sure. Think about the actual, like the experience inside of Bumble, right? Where you're actually looking at people that we recommend to you, you're interacting with them, you're saying, yes, I want to talk more. Every one of those interactions is something that you, the user, have to put your thumb on the screen and actually do. And that's really important because one of our principles is that you are always making the decisions, right? But when and where we show you assistance or when and where we actually provide any help, you can clearly understand that it's Bumble giving you that suggestion, that tip. Or in the case of if you're reporting something that you see, you always understand that what you're interacting with, is our system, but there's always clear, identification of that. So clarity and very clear usage is something that's really important to our design.
And you say more will be rolling out soon.
Absolutely, we're always innovating. We have lots of really amazing functionality rolling out all the time, and I'm really excited about some of the things that we'll be releasing later this year.
Anything you want to tease?
Oh, I'd love to, but not just yet. Give me a few more weeks. Yeah.
Let's talk about, in addition to helping the people find love and the matches, you also say that it is weeding out bad actors, essentially, on your app. Is that right?
That's right. Yep.
And how does that work? And what types of things is AI catching?
Yeah, this is the one thing I can talk about is what we call our deception detector, right? Which is amazing technology that actually looks for people that are trying to scam or spam our members, and actually automatically catches them and flags them. So this is technology that runs automatically in the background and helps us protect the authenticity of our member community. But on the other side of it, we also have ways for our members to report things. And one of the recent additions we made was the ability for members to report when they see potentially AI-generated photography or videos on a member profile. Because one of our principles is that that should always be clearly identified. And if they feel like someone's inappropriately using fake imagery, they can report it. And we have a workflow to actually go and validate if what they're seeing is true. So there's a lot of automatic things that happen, but there's also ways for our members to participate in the feedback loop and make sure we keep our community safe.
And beyond pictures, obviously, not necessarily with Bumble, but in the space generally, there's always a concern about, who is this person without a background check or something like that that I could be matching with? How does AI intersect in a case like that?
Some of that is AI, and some of that is just the onboarding process that we have to make sure that users are who they say they are. One of the spaces I think that's really fascinating for AI broadly over the next few years is going to be its role in helping to prove authenticity of people and to make sure that folks are doing things that are authentic, whether it be photos and images all the way through the representation of themselves. So that's an area of constant evolution in the AI space, and I think it's something that we're really definitely watching.
Absolutely. You also, for some of your technology, right, have open sourced it, like the type of technology that is able to catch inappropriate pictures that someone may be receiving.
That's right. Yep.
Tell us about making that decision.
Yeah, that's one of those areas we call our private detector, which supports finding inappropriate images and making sure that we can detect them, flag them, and take them down if necessary. And we decided that that was something that, in partnership with a lot of the technology companies that are out there, that we wanted to make available because we felt like it was something that was important for all companies that are interacting with members the way that we are to have access to, because that's one of those things where it's just really important to get right, and since we've made so much progress with it, we decided to make that something that we shared.
And I have reported on that. I've interviewed some of the people that you work with at Bumble when it comes to that, and that technology is pretty amazing because I think that's one of the concerns for women on these apps is just sort of being like assaulted with something that you didn't want to see. How does that technology work?
Yeah, similar thing. I'll maybe take it like one more level down before I stop. But I think at a very broad level, think about it as image recognition, but at the same time applying a lot of the specific techniques that we've learned, the experience that we have both in terms of past images and all of the data that we have to make sure that we can have the best data sets and the best training to make that most effective. So it really is a combination of technique and also just history and our ability to do that really well.
And then if someone is receiving one of those images, what happens? How does that technology make it so that a woman doesn't have to see it?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. I mean, our goal is to not have that imagery show up in the first place, right? To just keep it away from the members, if we can. But if for some reason it gets through, we have a lot of tools inside the application where members can instantly report when they see something that gets flagged, and we take action. So it's both proactive and reactive at all times.
Bumble stresses quality over quantity. Do you actually believe that people are able to achieve that, more quality matches rather than just an inundation of them on this app versus others?
I do believe that because when we talk to our members, and this is another thing that's changed a lot over the last 10 years, there's an intentionality to dating that I think has evolved a lot. And when we talk to our members about, what are they looking to do, they want to slow down a little bit. They want to be more intentional about who they're looking at, who they're interacting with. So a lot of our principles and the way we design the Bumble experience are about compatibility-driven design. So making sure you're always seeing the best people, the best recommendations, and then allowing you the tools, techniques, and actual experience to take advantage of that in a very thoughtful way. So again, that's something that I think went from when online dating first started, and it was all about how many people can I see in a short period of time, and what we're now seeing is this more intentional, more thoughtful member experience, which is something we've really embraced.
And how does Bumble think about and approach the idea that it's like, if the app works, then you're losing users, right? They don't need to be on there anymore. What does that mean for you as a company?
That's another really great evolution, I think, within the space, but also within Bumble. We want to be here for our members throughout their entire journey, if possible. And so some of the things that we're supporting our members on, not just including the actual matching experience, but our, the conversation experience. Once you meet in real life, are there things we can do to support you with both like choosing a place to go on a date, but all the way through that post-date experience? So I think that's another exciting area for us to innovate, is to support our members through a longer part of that journey because they're asking for it.
Tell us how AI might intersect with Bumble BFF, and also what that product is for people who don't know.
Yeah, Bumble BFF, that's one of my actually favorite parts of the Bumble experience. It's something I still use today, and it's a great way to find friends, right? We have a lot of members that use it in all different stages of their lives. I was actually just talking last week to some of our, some members who are just leaving college and entering the workforce. They're all changing cities, and they're all really excited about using BFF to help them find new friends, new people to go to the gym with or to even go on a walk. So I think AI plays a similar role in our BFF experience, which is helping members find other friends based on their interests, their profiles, and most importantly, make those connections and then actually see them through to an in-real-life meetup.
You still use it?
I do, yeah.
In what way?
It's fun to find friends. I travel a lot to different cities, so I'm always like wondering, hey, is there anyone that wants to meet up and go watch a soccer game or something like that? And both as a dog fooder of our technology, but also because the experience works, I think it's really fun.
And I know that you pride yourself, the whole company does, on the safety that comes along with Bumble. How is AI enhancing the safety of the app? And like, for example, you're traveling, you're in another country, you want to go watch a game with someone. I think that's an instance where some people might be concerned. Is this safe? Should I go meet up with this person I don't really know rather than just hanging by myself in another country? How are you making those interactions safe?
Yeah, that's where this is universal to both of our applications, right? That safety experience is built into everything that we do. So everything from the onboarding through all of the, the checks we do to make sure you are who you say you are, to everything that happens inside the application. All of that safety technology we talked about is happening across every one of those experiences. So when I interact with someone that I want to make a friendship with in a city and say, hey, we should go hang out, or we're running an event and I want to invite you, I feel really confident that that person is who they say they are. And I know that the safety technology that we have is working across that entire process from onboarding all the way through the matching that we do.
There's so many ethical conversations going on about the use of artificial intelligence. How does using it to find love, one of the most personal things, one of the most human things, how does that fit into the conversation of the ethics around AI? And maybe for skeptics who are like, this seems like maybe one use where we don't really need artificial intelligence getting involved.
This is where it's about the balance, because as we just talked about, we never use AI to get in front of what the member is doing, right? That they're always in control. And that's where that's where the balance is, really. There are, will be companies that take advantage of AI in many different parts of that spectrum, but our principle will always hold that we are here to use AI to keep you safe, to help you make incredible, authentic connections, and to support you in making them. But most importantly, you're the one who presses the button, you're the one who makes the connection, you're the one who does the conversation. So that's a principle. Again, it's a sliding scale, something we talk about a lot, especially with other folks in the tech community, but our position remains very firm because we believe that it's rooted in keeping our members safe.
What are those conversations like with peers in the tech community?
Well, I think you can see it in the news, right? There's so many different applications of AI. I think there was, I just read this interesting article about the role of chatbots in online dating. What role can they play? Should they be taking over some part of the conversation for you? And again, that's one end of the spectrum where like the work is being handed off. The work of actually making the connection is being handed off to AI. On the other end of the spectrum, our principle is AI is here to support you, to encourage you, to give you all the tools you need, and to help you make that authentic connection, but you're in control. You make the conversation happen. Yeah.
So if a woman's wondering, like, if there's AI involved in Bumble, is this guy really as funny as he seems like he is? Is that a way that it can kind of enhance your conversation, or how does that work?
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, if you're not funny, that's really not we can't help you with that. Yeah, but what we can help you with is making sure that you know what a great profile looks like in terms of having the right number of photos that represent like who you are, that having the right amount of interest, because we have a lot of data about what makes someone show up well, but also what allows us to figure out who the best matches for you are. So that's where we can help you. Unfortunately, if you don't have great jokes, that may be something you need to go use something else for. Yeah.
Are you worried that there's a fine line, especially because this is something so personal?
It'll always be a fine line. I mean, I think with AI in general, the spectrum is really important, but the place where we exist and our principles are not going to change. So I feel like we know how to operate. We talk to our members a lot about this. We get the feedback. We know the research. So I feel very confident about how we are positioning our use of AI and actually doing it. And I think that's something that won't change, which makes us feel really good about innovating in this space without worrying that we're doing something inappropriate.
Right. Especially because lately, anyway, and I've been reporting on this type of stuff, when it comes to AI and love, it does seem like there's a valid question of how much is too much. Like, there is this concern about people like really developing these relationships with AI companion apps, kind of parasocial type of relationships going on when you think that you're kind of getting something authentic from somebody, or maybe even a celebrity who has like an AI chatbot kind of responding on their behalf. What would you say to the question of how much is too much when it comes to AI and love?
I think I'll go back to where we stand, which is that we always want to provide the control and the safety to our members, that everything that they're doing is authentic, both that they're doing and that the people that they're matching with are doing. I think that's a good debatable question, to be very honest with you, where, like, over time, like, where is that line? What are people going to feel increasingly more comfortable with? I think as you look at some of the folks, exiting college, or even the folks that are younger, their fluency with AI, their comfort and their safety is just vastly different, in the same way that every technology has, early adopters versus folks who are embedded in the technology. So all of that to say, it's a space that I think we're very closely watching, because we want to make sure we meet members' expectations, but we're always going to do it from this principled position that you are in control of what happens, because that's something that's vastly important to our experience.
Obviously, people are often using these apps because they are looking for their person, I mean, some people are maybe looking for some fun, but for the most part, I think a lot of people are there looking for a long-term connection. Would you definitively say that you think AI is upping that success rate?
Absolutely. We believe, and we've seen, that the use of AI, but broadly the technologies that we apply in Bumble, are helping people find more matches, but ultimately find more authentic connections. And I think what's really powerful is that we're seeing it in our experiences. We're seeing it in the member feedback we get, which is that all of the tools, not just the AI-specific things, but the entire experience, is helping members find real meaningful connection. And most importantly, find people that they may not have always thought to go look for, because they just couldn't physically see them. And that's part of the beauty, I think, of dating applications, is that even if you live in a densely populated city like Austin or New York City, you still may not actually bump into the person that you were meant to be with. And that's really where I think the magic of what we can do with AI and our technology is.
That's fascinating to hear that take on it. Tell us a little bit more, before I want to ask you about kind of the future of Bumble. I want to know about people being concerned about their data. Obviously, there's all types of things that you have to opt into when you're on the app. But for someone who thinks, this is kind of personal, or like these conversations I'm having are not the kind of thing that I want, something being trained on, what would you tell someone who's concerned about their data when they're using an app as personal as Bumble?
Absolutely. Our trust and safety principles, as we've talked about, are paramount to the way that we build the entire application, from the technology, through our policies, through all of the experience inside the application. So our members feel really safe, and we encourage them to look at all the public documents that we put together, if they choose to, that share exactly the principles at every part of our experience, which is that we're designing everything with their safety in mind. We protect their personally identifiable information, and even the experience, as we talked about, if a member sees something inappropriate, all of that reporting is something that's available to them.
As someone who, I think the way that you put it to me when we talked before was, you said that you are a classically trained computer guy, a big tech guy. What do you think about what you're seeing behind the curtain at Bumble?
I said to my wife, who asked me a similar question about a week ago, which was like, how's it going? Are you having fun? And I said, yeah. And I said, very similar to what I told you, I'm just a geek. I just like to build cool software and like help people. And the geek in me is having the time of my life right now. Some of our technology, some of the data, our members, this combination of what we are doing and what we have access to and how we can help is honestly some of the coolest stuff I've worked on in my whole career. So it's really exciting to be here.
And in terms of the sophistication of the tech and the software and the way that it's being used to help people find someone, are you impressed by what you've seen?
Absolutely. I think the way that we use technology and the way we strike that balance of technology and the person that's actually using it, that's part of the really like cool geeky stuff, because yeah, there's great technology, there's great features, there's great algorithms, but it's the application of it, the way we do it, that I find most exciting, because we have to be so thoughtful, we have to be so driven by our customers and our members, because we are helping them at a very vulnerable point in their life, which is putting themselves out there to go meet people and sharing their interests and making connections. So it's like the tech, but the application of it that I find really, really cool about what we do.
Does that mean that you are evolving things kind of based on feedback, or whether that be explicit feedback, somebody expressing frustration or satisfaction over how the app worked for them, or even just kind of like signals that you can tell in terms of how many matches are happening, how many people seem to be finding an actual person that they're meeting in the real world? Are you taking those cues to make changes?
Customer feedback is super important to us, and we get it from every avenue, similar to what you just said. We look at all of the data inside our application, to understand, are people using all the features that we're launching to help support them? Are they finding matches? Or how are things looking for our members in bigger cities versus, different areas? And then on the other side, we do normal user research. I spent last week, as I mentioned, talking to handfuls of our members that are in different life stages throughout their 20s and early 30s. And those were 5-on-1 Zoom calls where we were just talking, and they were sharing their experiences, features they want to add. So we do the full spectrum of research with our members in our community, and it's one of the most fun parts about the job, is that we're not just kind of all the way away from them with our data. We're getting right close to them, talking to them, getting involved in their experiences to understand how we can best evolve Bumble.
Tell me more about that, how you're finding those people, how you are in conversation with them. Because it is very interesting that you're not just using indicators on a computer screen. You're actually talking to people.
Yeah. I mean, some of the best light bulbs that have ever gone off in my head as a product manager have been from cutting through all of the research, all the reports, which are normally amazing. And then you have that one conversation with a member, and you walk away and you go, oh my God, we were thinking about it totally wrong. That's the thing we need to build or change or do. So one of the things I believe strongly in, something my team and I now do all the time, is always go talk to real people. So we have incredible research, we do all this data and telemetry, and then every couple of weeks we grab a couple of members, we have a Zoom, we talk to them, get their feedback, and we process it and keep going. It's just a really great virtuous cycle that I think is how you build great software.
So I know you travel a lot. Are you like in a bar and you're like, hey, do you use Bumble? Tell me what you think. How are you striking up those conversations?
Well, let's just say that when I changed my LinkedIn, that I moved to this company, let's just say a lot of my friends that I didn't know were using the app came out of the woodwork, and I got lots of feedback, which has been great. So now there's a WhatsApp channel where my friends share feedback to me. It's amazing. But it is a cool thing, because so many people know the app, that when we're out and we're doing any sort of event or anything like that, people will walk up to me and say, are you with Bumble? Can I show you something? Or like, hey, like I want to give you some feedback, which is awesome. I sit, I listen, I've got a bunch of DMs with the same information. So yeah, I kind of love the fact that people just feel comfortable sharing. Yeah.
Can you give me an example about maybe a couple things that you've heard maybe over and over again that you've actually been able to implement change on?
Yeah, one of the things that stuck out with some research we did over the last couple of months, some of it started before I got here, was just on interest preferences. So these are the little tags you can put on your profile that express, you like dogs, et cetera, as I talked about earlier. So some of the feedback we've gotten from our members is within certain parts of the interest areas, they wanted more specificity. We've been talking to college students. They obviously want even more specificity of not just that I'm in school, but I'm a junior, and actually I'm studying these 3 areas, and if it's possible, can you add that I'm going to these 3 events over the next, couple of months? So it's like this interesting drill down that our members share with us about how much more specific they want to be. And a lot of that has started to show up in the application as we've added more interests and other things to support them.
Bumble really made a splash and kind of made its reputation on letting women make the first move, maybe making women make the first move in kind of the way that the app worked. There's been some kind of iterations on that now, the way that you can sort of like set a question and have that interaction go, but where is the company at on that front?
Yeah, we still believe strongly that women that everyone should have safe, equal, and really authentic connections on our platform. And we believe strongly in making Bumble a great space for women to do that. So a lot of the technology that we've been evolving, the experiences, take a lot of the learnings and the member feedback about how to evolve things like those opening experiences. And now we've added questions and other types of media to support really, really great ways to have that first opening conversation as a woman without putting so much of the burden on them, which is something that we've evolved with the feedback that we've gotten from them.
What do you see happening in the dating app space in the next, let's start near future, next couple of years, 3-5 years?
There's so much happening, and this is again part of my excitement with coming here, that there's just a large field of innovation that's, let's call it, possible. Some of the things I think in the near term that we're looking at, very similar to the earlier part of our conversation, what role can AI continue to play in supporting our members, having everything from really safe experiences all the way through authentically connecting even more through their profiles and through some great conversations. We're also really interested in what's happening broadly with the friending experience, because that is an important part of dating or just finding connection, because for a lot of folks, especially earlier in their life stages, that's how you sort of ladder up to dating. You first want to make more friends, et cetera. So I think that's another area. And then the third area that we're really interested in is what's happening with sort of the online and offline world of dating, because a lot of folks are looking at interests, and they're finding places to meet people that share those interests that are not necessarily starting online, but they want online experiences to facilitate them, like run clubs or things like that. So lots of areas of innovation over the next 2 to 3 years. Some of those things I think are really exciting.
And how do you see a dating app, obviously in nature, a digital space for meeting, going into the real world?
Yeah, I mean, it happens already, right? When you meet someone on Bumble and you start a connection, you start chatting, and you decide, okay, let's make this more real. Let's go meet IRL. That's a natural progression of dating, and something that we absolutely want our members to happen. We say that we want you to come online so you could ultimately go offline. But there's a lot more that we can do to support members as they make that journey offline. Very simple things like helping you find a place to go on that first date, all the way through ways of supporting you throughout that first couple of months process. So lots of areas of innovation there and things that we're exploring based on, again, a lot of the member feedback about how they want us to help them throughout their dating journey.
And I know you're just exploring it, or maybe it's something that you can announce, but can you give an example of what that would look like, Bumble kind of stepping into that space with someone?
Yeah, it's another area that we'll catch up on next time for sure.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it. In my reporting on artificial intelligence, one of the things that I have seen a lot of, and is maybe a little scary, is there is so much capability that isn't released to the public yet, right? Like whether it's at OpenAI and the different types of things that they are able to do, and they know the technology is there already. And we've also probably all seen how quickly it can iterate itself. Like each time that there's a new version released, it's just like miles ahead of where it was before. Does the fact that AI is moving so quickly worry you at all when it comes to the love space, when it comes to something so personal?
It doesn't worry me because well, for a couple of things. I think first, our application of AI, it's not as though the AI has its own, the best way to say it without sounding cheesy, it's not like it has its own control over what it's doing within Bumble. Based on what we talked about earlier, our application of AI is very thoughtful, is very principled, but also at a technology level is very safe and controlled. So as AI is evolving, we choose at Bumble how to apply that AI, and according to our principles, we'll always make sure that we're doing it in a safe and ethical way. So if we see things happening in the broader AI ecosystem that we're not comfortable with, we will make the right choices for our members to ensure that that doesn't affect their experience.
Can you go into your principles a little for somebody who's like, well, that makes me a little worried because who's making that decision and how will it affect me and my search for someone? How is it that the principles are keeping them safe?
Absolutely. We have an incredible set of people within Bumble that work on our policies for a whole set of experiences in Bumble, everything from our safety all the way through the ethical use of our AI. And a lot of our ethical principles are founded on some of the best principles that exist in the market for how to think about the ethical use of AI, how to protect user data, how to make it explainable so that customers know when AI is specifically doing something for them. And most importantly, as we talked about, to give them feedback loops where if they see something that they don't like, whether it be AI or not, that they have a safe way of reporting it back to Bumble. So those principles, again, are built, honestly, incredibly thoroughly within our team and are something that we're constantly updating based on the changing technology landscape.
And And how much do you think AI has improved the safety of the app?
I think a lot. As we talked about, we're doing everything from blocking unsafe images all the way through protecting our members from scammers who may be trying to get into the platform. So we know, as we talked about with our deception detector, that we have a 95% efficacy rate with blocking people that were trying to spam our members. So we see numbers like that with the way we're using AI gives us confidence that we're helping protect and keep our members safe while helping them give a great experience in terms of finding connection.
And what would you say to the skeptic who's like, still don't want this messing with my love life?
I would say with Bumble, you are still very much in control. So if you don't want to match with the person that we suggested, you have the full control to say no, and you can go and look at the next person. Because again, the AI is simply here to help you. You control how it actually applies to you by the matches that you make and the conversations that you have.
For people who are not on the app and haven't interacted with it, what is the kind of opting in aspect look like? Or when you say it's there to help you, how known is it? Is it tapping into a tool that's like, hey, redo my profile? What does it look like to actually be assisted by AI on Bumble?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. Let you think of the easiest example I can give. Let's see. Well, I'll just say it like this. There are places throughout the interface where AI is going to do something for you. And one of our design principles is explainability. So you'll always see that this thing that's happening, whether it be a flag on an image or something like that, is because we caught it using one of our AI technologies. And then again, you have the opportunity to provide feedback often because that's an important part of the loop with using AI with our members. Yeah.
What are you most excited about at Bumble?
I'm excited about so many things. This has been the really fun journey over the last 2 months, is uncovering even more about what we can be doing for our members. I'm honestly most excited to continue evolving the platform with our members because, as I mentioned, it's such a special thing. We have this vibrant community all over the world of people at every stage of their life looking for everything from friendship through romantic connection. And they are helping us find the innovation because, I know we've talked about AI a lot today, and we will always be innovating and looking at the technology and thinking about its application. But what I'm really excited about is, honestly, the access we have to our members who are so willing to share feedback so that we can continue to evolve and support them through a very different dating landscape than it was, in 2014.
For anyone who wants to be one of those members providing feedback, how are you sourcing that?
Oh, well, that's great. As I mentioned, anywhere I am online, please feel free to send me a DM and ask me or send me any feedback. But we also have surveys and polls and a whole set of things that we do to make sure we're accessing feedback and providing members an opportunity to do it. There's multiple places in the application to send it as well.
Are you optimistic about the landscape of dating apps generally?
Absolutely. I came here because I fundamentally believe, as we talked about, in the power of technology to help people find connection. It works, or at least it worked for me, But more importantly, I think that what's happening in the market with people looking for more and more ways to find connection based on their interests and those more specific interests, the things that really matter to them, and in front of that, helping them feel really confident about how they're doing that online. I think that's really where our responsibility and really a lot of where our magic is coming from, is helping people throughout that entire experience, being more self-confident, expressing yourself, and then ultimately finding people to help you make authentic and real connections with.
From a purely business perspective, how much of a competitive advantage do you think that the way that you're using artificial intelligence has been for Bumble?
I think, like much of our technology, I think it all ladders up together to provide an experience that when we talk to our members, we hear a lot about, we feel really safe with Bumble. We feel like it's a really authentic place to go and meet people. And those are the things, aside from all the data and the telemetry, that are signals to us that we're doing right by our members and that we're continuing to make our experience one of the best in the market.
My last question for you is, if you think back to when you met your wife on a dating app and you think to now and how much you know about the technology and how they work, is it just such a marked difference where this technology, where this industry has gotten to? And for somebody who's using them, do you think there's this strong hope that this is where you could find your person?
I absolutely do. I think it's come a long way since my wife and I first met on it 10 years ago, but the principles are still the same, right? The more self-confidence, the more you express yourself, the better you're able to find people who match from a compatibility perspective. And I think what's changed a lot in the last decade within Bumble is our ability to do that way better for our members. Our algorithms have gotten a lot better. Our ability to do our matching all the way through the experience inside the application. So it's a totally different world than 2014, but at the root of it is still folks who are just looking to find the person that maybe they couldn't find by just walking around wherever they live. And I think that's a really special thing that I'm happy is not changing, because that means that we have a mission to help people.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you, Savannah. This was wonderful. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.